Hey, Ruth.
Hi,
We're ready.
everyone. Is there a quorum, Carol?
Yes, there is.
Okay, we have a quorum. We can go ahead and get started. This meeting will come to order. Janelle, is there an on-site packet?
Yes, there is this time. Everyone should have noted that was posted on Friday. There's one report. It was from a Fort Scott site visit that we did late, but was requested by the committee and the board to be in the discussion for this meeting. So we did put that in the on-site packet. So the report is in there.
All right, thank you, Janelle. I would like to amend the agenda to put the major curriculum change requests to occur on the agenda before the site visit reports. So change those two items on the agenda, put the Fort Scott Community College as F under the site visits, and eliminate the duplicate of St. Mary under major curriculum change. I need a motion to amend the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the December 12th, 2023 education agenda as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion has been made. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead, Amy
No, it was Patty. I was seconding the motion.
or Patty. Okay, Patty, you seconded it. Thank you. The motion has been seconded. Is there discussion on this motion? No discussion? We will now vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. And abstain if you need to do that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have a majority and the motion passed. Are there any announcements?
Yes, this is Janelle Martin with the Board of Nursing, education consultant or the compliance officer, sorry. We have two new members of our education committee that are joining us for the first time today, and I wanted to just make a quick introduction. Michelle Haley is here from Dodge City Community College. She is the director there and was representing the ADN program. Sorry, couldn't remember what I was going to say there. And then Debbie Pyle is here. She is from Wichita State University. They have programs that are both BSN and graduate, but her representation on the board is with the graduate programs. So I wanted to welcome you both to your first meeting, as interesting as it may be. And ask questions if you need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle, and welcome, Debbie and Michelle. I wish I was there in person to greet you. Thank you. Let's move on to approval of the minutes from September 12th, 2023. Those are available for review in your packet. And at some point, we do need a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve the September 12th, 2023 Education Committee minutes as written.
Thank you. A motion has been made. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded. Is there discussion? No discussion. We'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say all. All opposed, say no. Or if there is any abstention, say abstain. Let's start with the ayes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any noes? Any abstentions? All right, we have the majority with the ayes, and so the motion passes. And Janelle, we will move to your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report is in your packet. Just a couple of quick things. We did have, in terms of updates, we did get a letter, this quarter from Southwestern College in Winfield. They, submitted a letter of intent to relaunch their Bachelor of Science in Nursing program at their main campus in Winfield. Their plan is to open a face-to-face program in the fall of 25 if they're approved. Some of you may know they've had a program before, and moved to a online RN to BSN program, and now are looking to come back to that face-to-face. So we will be looking for that in the near future. Garden City Community College announced that their interim director, that they had a retirement. Patsy Zeller, who had been there for many years, retired in August, and Shelley Emmenheiser was appointed as interim. And they announced when we were there for our site visit, that she's been named the director of the program and will take effect the first of the year for that. The other thing that's not on the report but came a little bit later is that Fort Scott Community College had a resignation of their director, and so they're in process of looking. They have appointed an interim. Darkus Witz is a current employee and a qualified person for them, so they have named her as interim director. So I just wanted to mention that. It's been a busy time for education in terms of site visits. So there's a few things in report. We had some minor curriculum changes. I don't think they're all there for you to see. I always I put in about our CGNF reports because those are our internationally educated nurses. We had quite an uptick the end of 2022, beginning of 23. It kind of went down again, but now we're seeing kind of go back up again. So I've just been putting those numbers in there for you all to see kind of what's happening and what's coming. What I'm seeing more of now than I have before is that most of the reports we're getting, programs are being taught in English. So they're not having to deal with as much of the English language proficiency testing as we have in the past. That may or may not stay the same. But for right now, that's kind of a trend there for that. One of the things I did, and just I work on the faculty qualification reports because faculty has been kind of a big issue. And I was just taking a look at some of what we're getting. So in my report this time, I did a little look at the 2023 year in terms of our qualification reports. And that was really just to give you an idea of how many of those, a faculty qualification report, for most of you are very familiar with them, but if you're not, or something that's regulatory, whenever somebody hires a new faculty, a qualification report has to be turned in for that person. And then as time passes, if that person changes their employment status, if they get additional education, those things have to be updated as well. Anytime there's a new hire that has to be hired on a degree plan or a hire exception, that also has to be noted. And as you know, many of you know, hire exceptions have to be done every year. So this just gives an idea of FQRs that we're getting every year. I think this year was maybe a little bit lower than last year. I think we got pretty close to 400 last year. So the electronic process has really helped that. And I know that I've had discussion with those of you who are submitting them and trying to work on getting an update FQR that's a little bit simpler to fill out, but it hasn't hit the highest point on the priority yet, but it's there on the list. So this just gives an idea. And I think one of the things that has been concerning or that's been in discussion is lack of faculty. It's been hard to hire faculty. And one of the things to note too is I kind of put an idea of when their initial FQRs, when their updates, and what we're seeing in terms of higher exceptions and degree plans. And the higher exceptions have definitely made a statistically significant increase this year. Doesn't surprise me. A higher exception is when someone doesn't have the degree that qualifies them for the programs. Our RN programs, regulation requires an MSN. And for our PN programs, a BSN is required. So just some idea of what those numbers look like. And I just thought it would be a good idea to kind of look at that trend and I'll kind of keep following that. Currently have 22 active petitioners. Those are those folks that are past their 2 years from graduation and are working to pass the NCLEX. Good news is that I've had 3 complete in the last quarter and 2 of them have already passed. So that's kind of a, that's a trend I'd like to see continue there, but it's nice to know that. I don't think, did attend the Cadney Fall Forum, which is the Associate Director of Nursing group. They do a fall forum every year and they had a couple of really good speakers this year. I just put a couple notes on that. But really talking about resiliency and what it takes. A person who had a spinal injury actually became a nurse after the injury and talked about that whole process. It was fascinating and very, I think it's kind of an uplifting thing after some of all the other things that have happened during the year. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Other things are in there. Just a quick reminder, the Next Gen NCLEX, so everybody probably already knows this too, started on April 1st. I've sent out the quarterly reports to everybody. 3rd quarter was still looking pretty good. So I'm hoping that when we get to the end of the year, we're going to see some of those numbers really take a positive turn from where we saw them last year. Just a quick note on the quarterly reports we'll send out after the beginning of the year. Sometimes because that's the end of the calendar year and it takes a little NCSB and a little while to update, it sometimes takes longer for me to get those reports run because it's a very busy little in trying to get it updated and everybody's trying to get their reports done. So sometimes it does take a little bit longer, but we will try to have them out by the 10th. So that is the plan. Madam Chair, I think that's all I have. I would entertain any questions if there's anything I didn't cover that somebody had a question about.
Thank you, Janelle. Does anyone have any questions for Janelle? No, it doesn't look like it. Let's move to the consent. Sorry, consent agenda item. I have a few questions for our committee members. Have all of you had the opportunity to review the consent agenda items? And does anyone have any questions? Okay. Does anyone want any of the items pulled from the consent agenda items and placed as an agenda item so discussion can take place? Well, if not, we will need a motion to approve. So is there a motion to approve the consent item agenda?
Madam Chair, it's Patty Palmiero. I move to approve the consent item agenda, which includes A, draft regulation review KAR 60-1-102, KAR 60-1-103, and KAR 60-1-103. So 4. It should say 4. We'll amend that to
Four.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The 2024 site visit schedule. And see the petition summary 8/12/23 through 11/10/23.
Okay. Thank you, Patty. We have a motion made. Is there a second?
This is Michelle Haley. I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there discussion on this motion? No discussion. We will vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. And state abstain if you are abstaining. If you are in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, state no. For abstentions, state abstain. It sounded to me like the ayes have the majority. That's what I'm hearing. Sorry, I'm on Zoom.
You're
Okay.
hearing right.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Let's move to the major curriculum requests. We will start with Baker University. Who do we have at the meeting to explain the major curriculum change request for Baker?
We have them coming to the table.
Thank you.
We have a full house this morning, so they're maneuvering around the tables. And we will let you introduce yourselves and present your change.
I'm Dr. Libby Rosendean for Baker University,
Renee Feaster, Assistant Dean.
and our major curriculum change is for an approval of a new program track in our Bachelor of Science of Nursing. Currently, we offer it in the traditional in-person fall and spring semesters, and the proposed new program track would offer the didactic courses online and in-person clinicals in a summer, fall, spring, and summer form.
I think that's all their presentation, Ruth.
I mean, we can,
If they're,
we can.
Ruth, you're muted.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought I'd unmuted. I didn't want to cough in front of everybody. Is there any questions for the representatives from Baker? Nope. Well, I'm calling for a motion then to approve the major curriculum change request from Baker University.
Madam Chair, this is Amy Height. I move to accept the major curriculum change request from Baker University for an accelerated BSN track with online didactic courses and in-person clinical experiences. Plan is for students to complete the program in 14.5 months.
Thank you, Amy. A motion has been made. Is there a second?
This is Patty Palmiero. I will second.
Thank you, Patty. We have a second. Is there discussion on this motion? Doesn't sound like discussion. We will now vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no, and abstain, state abstain. Let's start with the ayes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Abstain. It doesn't sound like it. The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Next, we have WSU Tech, the ADN program. Who do we have to explain the major curriculum change request?
They're coming forward.
Thank you. So welcome.
Good morning. My name is Deshawn Linson. I am the Dean of Nursing for WSU Tech.
Good morning. My name is Flora Diaz. I'm the Assistant Dean for the Nursing Program at WSU Tech.
This morning, we are requesting a major curriculum change to our ADN 110 Concepts of Professional Nursing transition from LPN to RN from 3 to 4 credits. What we found is that as the professional nurses entered into the program, they came in at different levels of experience depending upon where they worked, which limited some of their foundational skills. So what we're asking is that we increase this from 3 to 4 hours by adding an additional hour to the lab, to the clinical component of it. That way, it basically will allow them to increase it's designed to prepare them at the basic RN level. Therefore, the students would then be checked off with their competence by the instructor.
Thank you. Are there any questions for WSU Tech? Doesn't sound like it. I'm calling for a motion to approve.
One
Ruth, one question.
Ruth? I
There
have one
is. I
Oh, is
could
this
not
for-
see that. Thank you. Go
question.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to avoid the owl. Is this a required, is everyone required to have this?
The students coming in through the bridge program, yes.
Yes, do the bridge, okay. Okay, Ruth, I'm done.
Thank you, Patty. Is that it? Did I miss anything else? Okay, thank you. So we are ready now. Is there a motion to approve the major curriculum change request from WSU Tech, the ADN program?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I move to accept the major curriculum change request from WSU Tech to increase the ADN 110 transition course from 3 credit hours to 4 credit hours, beginning in the summer of 2024.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Thank you. Let's vote on the motion. All in favor, state aye. All opposed, no. And state abstain if you are abstaining. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And any abstentions, state abstain. The ayes have the majority, the motion passes, and we will move to the Pittsburgh State University BSN, who is at the meeting to explain the major curriculum change request for Pittsburgh State.
Alton, we're gonna need, Cheryl Giefer is on Zoom, and she is planning to do the presentation via Zoom. So if
I
we
think
can
I've got
get
him coming over.
Okay, perfect. There she is. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi,
Hello.
Cheryl.
We also have Gina Coombs, who is our AACN Essentials Champion. She is attending also. But anyway, I'm here to present our request for the major curriculum change. This change involves the change in the BSN program outcomes, which will align with AACN's new essentials, including their 10 domains of nursing with the competencies. And we're focusing right now on the entry level only. And this is where we are. We're following AACN's guidance, and then we will begin our curriculum change in the upcoming months. And our table outlines our old program outcomes, our revised program outcomes, and then the AACN's essential domains are listed in the tables that we presented.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any questions regarding the major curriculum change for Pittsburgh State? Okay, I'm asking for a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Pittsburgh State University to adopt new program outcomes for the BSN program to align with AACN's new essentials.
Thank you, Patty. A motion has been made. Is there a second?
This is Debbie Pyle, all second.
The motion has been seconded. Is there discussion on this motion? Okay, it doesn't sound like it. We're going to vote now. All in favor, state aye. Opposed, no. If you're abstaining, state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, state no. Any abstentions?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Height. I will abstain.
Thank you, Amy. The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Let's move to the Washburn University BSN, who is present at the meeting to explain the major curriculum change.
We have someone coming forward. Thank you, Cheryl. And
Thank you, Cheryl.
Good morning. My name is Jane Carpenter, and I'm the Dean of the School of Nursing at Washburn.
What we're bringing forward is a major curriculum change related to our end of program outcomes for the BSN program. We've been working with our Essentials Task Force for probably the last year. The committee actually developed these end of program outcomes. The faculty supported those, but we're just now bringing them back to you, but we've been using them for our work along the way. As Cheryl just said, ours follow the 10 domains. And again, these are just the level 1 that we're focusing on for the undergraduate program. And then our plan will be to, in March, bring forward a few additional curriculum changes based on this work. So.
Thank you. Ruth, I think that's the end of the presentation.
It is. I was having difficulty getting myself off mute, and I'm sorry. I'm putting myself on mute in case I cough. Thank you for presenting that. Is there any discussion? It doesn't sound like it. I'm calling for a motion to approve this.
Madam Chair, this
Curriculum
is
change.
Amy Height. I move to accept the major curriculum change requested from Washburn University to change all the BSN end of program outcomes.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Michelle Haley. I'll second.
The motion's been seconded. Is there discussion on this motion? No discussion. All in favor of approval, state aye. All opposed, state no. And if there's any abstention, state abstain. Let's start with the ayes. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, state no. Any abstentions? The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you for your presentation. We will move now to the University of St. Mary BSN. And who is present at the meeting to explain the major curriculum change for St. Mary's?
Karen Kidder, I'm interim chair of nursing division at University of St. Mary.
Thank you. Welcome.
So we are presenting a major curriculum change request to move 2 of our senior level courses, NU 541, Leadership and Management of Care, and NU 585, Senior Capstone in Nursing, to a hybrid method so that much of the didactic content can be online for the students and so that they have more time then to get to their practicums for leadership and for capstone.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Let's go ahead and ask for a motion. Would someone propose a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, this is Michelle Haley. I move to approve the major curriculum change request from the University of St. Mary to change the delivery method of NU AT 541, Leadership and Management of Care and Nursing, and NU AT 585, Senior Capstone in Nursing, to hybrid methodology.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I would second.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion on the motion? No discussion. Let's vote on the motion. All in favor, state aye. All opposed, state no. If you're abstaining, state abstain. Let's start with the ayes. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, state no. Are there any abstentions? The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Let's move to Dodge City Community College PN, who is present at the meeting to explain the major curriculum request.
We have Michelle Haley moving from.
Yes, I was
One
able
to
to
another.
see that. Thank you, Michelle.
I'm Michelle Haley. I'm the Dean of Nursing and Allied Health at Dodge City Community College. So during our review in 2021 of our pass rates, we, the faculty and I, and students were included as well, identified some need for some changes. One was, to add a health assessment course specifically, and this was also based on feedback from our advisory board members. And to, reorganize the first level. So we pulled health assessment out of our, fundamentals class and then made it, throughout the lifespan as well. So we added that to the first semester. And based on student feedback, we're moving our pharmacology course to our second semester with our first med surg course. We're also adding IV therapy to our med surg course in the spring, based on the Nurse Practice Act requirements for IV therapy. And we are changing our prerequisites, our math from intermediate algebra or above to modern college math or above. And we're removing microbiology and adding pathophysiology to that.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? Right. I'm calling for a motion to approve the major curriculum change request from Dodge City Community College PM program.
Madam Chair, this is Debbie File. I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Dodge City Community College PN DOUT program to 1, add health assessment course and reorganize remaining first level courses. 2, decrease credit hours for fundamentals and add IV therapy curriculum to NR 108. 3, change prerequisites, math from intermediate algebra to modern college math and remove microbiology and add pathophysiology.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde, I second.
Thank you, Amy. The motion's been seconded. Is there discussion on the motion? All right, let's go ahead and proceed to the vote. All in favor, state aye. All opposed, state no. If you're abstaining, please state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state no. Are there any abstentions? Who
That was
is?
Michelle.
Sorry.
Oh,
Michelle,
yes, of course. Thank you. The ayes have the majority, excuse me, the motion passes. And we will move to Dodge City Community College ADN, who is present to explain the major curriculum change for the ADN program.
So basically, the PM program is the curriculum for our first year. And so these are the exact same changes. It's just for our ADN program as well.
Thank you, Michelle. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question that's kind of either for both or Michelle. So when you're merging it, everything into med surge, right? The IV.
Well, we already had some IV content into our med surge. We just updated it to include everything that was supposed to be included.
So it's the full course.
Yes. As that unit. So basically in that unit.
And it's just the one med surg course, right?
Yes, we combined 2 med surg courses. There was a lot of redundancy in that. So we combined them into one med surg course that is a 16-week course.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Michelle, I have one question, just because I don't know how your modern math transfers. Does that transfer in the math pathways for K-Board to college algebra?
It does. And part of that change was based on K-Board's recommendation to remove remedial math. And so our courses are actually, the faculty will also be able to add dimensional analysis to modern college math, which I think will actually help in the whole scheme of things.
Thank you.
Okay, so does this increase your hours? Does it keep?
It decreases our overall hours by 2 credit hours.
Decreases by
The
2.
changes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
In both programs, actually.
Okay. Any further
Fine.
questions or any discussion? Is there a motion for approving the major curriculum change request from Dodge City Community College ADN program.
Madam Chair, this is Amy Height. I move to accept the major curriculum change from Dodge City Community College ADN to add health assessment course and reorganize remaining first level courses. Number 2, decrease credit hours for fundamentals. And number 3, change prerequisites math from intermediate algebra to modern college math and remove microbiology and add pathophysiology.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero, and I second the motion.
Okay, the motion's been seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, we're going to move to the vote then. All in favor state aye. All opposed state no. Any abstentions state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? State no. Do we have any abstentions?
Michelle Haley, I
Yes.
abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you, Michelle. We will move now to the site visit reports. And we'll start with Johnson County ADN program. Who is present to represent this program? Would you please come up?
Lori's on her way.
Thank you.
And I do have the site visit report and Lori will be available for questions. So we did the Johnson County Community College ADN program site visit on September 26th through 28th. We did that along with the ASIN team was there also doing their visit. The other site visitor besides myself was Dr. Dee Bonenblust, and who was an education committee member up through September. And so what we found on that, I'm just going to look at the strengths, opportunities, and recommendations for the report. And we did find a lot of really good strengths with the program. Faculty and program really promote student success throughout the program. They have a student success initiative that was actually developed by a faculty member and implemented by the program in the fall of 22, which has been very successful for them. They have a senior scholar program, which allows faculty in their last 1 to 2 years of work to work on special projects that are really a boost and a bonus to the students in that program. They have a unique model with their application and advising process, a dedicated nursing advisor and counselors for the nursing program, which again is that added support, which a lot of programs are finding the students really need that and has been very helpful. They have a certified simulation center with the dedicated certified faculty. They have 3 full-time and 3 part-time. And it's a little bit rare in Kansas, I think, to find a certified center and certified faculty. They're kind of, it's a little more expensive, and if you don't do a lot of it, it's a really a great goal to get to. So it's a great strength for them. And I think I will just add, they had just hosted an international, wasn't it? Simulation conference there at Johnson County not too long before we got there. So they were a busy spot.
Yeah.
The program is really viewed as a cornerstone in the community. It's a longstanding program. It's viewed as an excellent program by the healthcare communities they work with. We got a lot of support from them, all the people that we talk to. There's a team approach to teaching, and they've had a transition curriculum. So as that's happened, that team approach has really been helpful for their students and for their faculty. They have exceptional student resources through their Student Success Center, and they have a Student Basic Needs Center that's a really strong support for students, again, outside the academic. They have the academic support, but then there are also some basic needs support that they are providing as well. And that's very unique. Their clinical partners state the instructors are well prepared and engaged with students that create an active learning environment. They have student academic counseling at their achievement center. They have 5 centers that cover math, writing, language, and science, and that's open 7 days a week. So they have that tutoring available. They also have a nurse practitioner that's available for tutoring and nursing specifically, which is also a little more difficult to find. Oftentimes it's only the faculty that are available for that kind of support. So it's nice that they were able to find someone who can help provide that along with the faculty. Very low default rate. We know right now everybody's kind of at zero, but just looking back over the last 3 to 4 years, that rate's been very low for them. So again, a strength. Opportunities. Johnson County has a physical library, but the resources are mixed. We just mentioned a culling method to make sure that historical designations are made when appropriate, and that current, only current, within the last 5 years are on the shelves. The handbook had the wrong fee schedule for the nursing license. We talked about that. I think that's already been updated. And a reference to the website where that can be found. Recommendations are at this point to recommend reapproval of the nursing program for the time period consistent with national accreditation. That's what I have to report. Questions regarding the report?
Okay, it doesn't, oh, are there questions? Okay, I thought there was. Is there a motion to approve the site visit report for the Johnson County ADN program?
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for Johnson County Community College ADN nursing program and reapprove for a time period consistent with national accreditation.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde, I second.
The motion's been seconded. Is there discussion on this motion? All right, I'm calling for a vote. Excuse me, on this motion. All in favor state aye. All opposed state no. If you're abstaining, please state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state no. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the Seward County PN program. Is there a representative from this program at the meeting? Please come up.
I'm Susan England, and I'm the director of the nursing program at Seward County.
Thank you.
I also want to just remind Colton, I don't know if we'll need Rebecca Sander, but she was the second site visitor with me on this visit, and she is with us remotely. Oh, she's coming over. So in case there are questions about the visit, we'd like to have both of the site visitors here. So again, we did that visit on October 24th and 25th. Rebecca Sander from our board and myself were the site visitors for the level 1 or PN level of the program at Seward County. Strengths that were identified, there's very strong community support for the program. The clinical sites and employers of the program graduates were very supportive of the program and making sure that continues. They're really proud of their program. The nursing director leadership for this program and the vision that they have for the program, it's been a little tough keeping things together, but very strong leadership and guidance and faculty have found faculty to help keep that program very much alive and going. Strong reputation of the program with the students, community, and clinical agencies. There's a new allied health nursing building on the main campus, which is providing a great spot for them with the Sim Center and just good space for them, and the learning environment they seem to really appreciate and take advantage of the space that they have to study as well. There's a new updated and leveled curriculum for both levels of the nursing program when we saw that when we looked at the PN curriculum. Opportunities, just a lot of this is consistent with what we've seen other places too, but faculty burnout has been an issue for this program. They're kind of down in the southwest corner, but they've had a lot of faculty turnover. And so the ones that they're looking at a more balanced expectation for nursing faculty and really look for opportunities to have the conversation with faculty and to review the contact hours in it to include more prep and grading time. We mentioned this with administration as well. They're really spending a lot of time, not only in the teaching, but they have a lot more prep time than, and most of you in nursing programs know that too, but to take that into consideration, they're looking at the time that's being spent. Student issues around organization, there were some discussions about the timeliness of calendars and the grading turnaround time. Again, things that are probably mostly related to the burden on the faculty right now. When you're down numbers, it's always a little harder. Consider more transparency with students regarding the program and the potential for the reduced financial aid. In 3 semesters of the program, there are less than the full-time hours. We talked about that. The students seem to be aware of it, but just to make sure that that's that they're very aware of that in terms of their financial aid. Clarify that the developmental psychology co-requisite needs to be completed prior to the end of level 1. That's just that developmental psych is a requirement at the PN level. And just to make it clear in the handbooks and the way the curriculum is presented. Orientation for new nursing faculty. Encourage administrators to meet with the nursing faculty for feedback regarding their orientation and the onboarding process for new faculty. Not seeing documentation of orientation or the evidence. And I think, again, a lot of that was the nursing director having to do like triple duty around all of that. But it would be really helpful for the faculty in terms of that department and school orientation to make sure that it's documented in their files. To review and revise the nursing program director job description to ensure alignment with KAR 60-1-104, which talks about the director requirements. Right now, the nursing director is allocated at 25% teaching, and with all the other duties and requirements, does not have time to necessarily do all the other things that are required of the director to do. So to maybe look at that and decrease that, potentially decrease that allocation in line with the other duties that the director has. Dedicated support for faculty with their LMS and Canvas systems, and orientation for faculty to include those tools, their IT tools and apps, again, to make it stronger for them in their teaching, a role with the students, to make sure they have time to learn those things that they need in order to do their teaching. And then the last is to continue to monitor the NCLEX pass rates and update the improvement plan as needed to raise first-time pass rates above regulatory standard. This was actually just the first time that they had a little dip below that 80%. But we do have that improvement plan that was submitted. So the recommendations are to continue to monitor the NCLEX pass rates and update the plan as needed. And to provide KSBN with a 6-month update report on the pass rate improvement plan by April 30th of 2024. We'll have year-end results by then too, so that will be helpful. And then recommend reapproval of the PN program for 5 years. Questions?
No questions, it sounds like. All right, thank you, Janelle. Is there a motion to approve the site visit report for the Seward Community College PN program?
Madam Chair, this is Michelle Haley. I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for Seward County Community College and to reapprove the PN program for 5 years.
A motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde. I second.
The motion's been seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Nope. Okay. Calling for a vote then. All in favor, state aye. All opposed, state no. If you're abstaining, state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. If you're in favor, state aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, state no. And any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you. And we will move now to North Central Kansas Tech College Beloit PN program. Is there a representative from this program? If so, please come up.
Yes, I'm Angela Murray, the Director of Nursing at North Central Kansas and Beloit. Thank you, Angela. Okay, so for the North Central Kansas Tech and Beloit, their PN program was up for just a reapproval visit. That visit was done by myself and Patty Palmietto, from our education committee, on November 1st and 2nd. We found strengths for the program. Their administration, community, advisory, and students all spoke highly of the faculty, stating things like they're very hands-on, very good communicators. They keep the sites informed. Everything pretty much working like clockwork for them. Faculty team works well together and is very focused on student success, very creative, forward-thinking, and willing to try new approaches to strengthen the concepts that the students are learning. Community relationships and their reputation are very strong. There's a really good connection, and that's helpful for the students as well. Students would recommend the program to anyone. They stated they came to the program because they heard it was so good and the pass rates were high. And that was pretty much across the board. We didn't hear any dissension to that at all. Advisory board speaks highly of the program and the faculty and student interactions while they're on site. They're vocal about the great communication they get and the many opportunities they have to get input and discussion on the program and the nursing education that's going on at the school. They're very inclusive of their community partners and the feedback that they're getting. An interesting strength, they have a faculty member who helped develop what they call Disaster Day, and it has become a very notable event for their school. How many years have you done it twice?
Yes.
And I wanted to mention it was very creative and it provided tremendous learning opportunities for the students. They did a day where they had paramedics involved, they had community like firefighters, they had the whole community involved in this, but the nursing students got a chance to see what it was like to be on site and learn, even though they may not ever have to do it, but about triage and what it's like to be in those situations. And the students all mentioned it when we asked about just, in general things. It came up in almost every meeting we talked about what a great opportunity that was in terms of the community and for the students and for their learning and how creative it was. It's a lot of work. And I think they missed 1 year because the person who was doing it, I think was maternity leave. So it didn't happen, but they were really glad to have it back. So that was mentioned universally by administration, community, and was felt to be a very positive thing. A lot of scholarship opportunities in this area. The Hanson Foundation kind of lives out in that area. So their students benefit from, because they live in an area where they're kind of a focus. And it often covers students above tuition and fees, which is very helpful for them in the area where they are having to work and go to school too. So it's a great strength for them. They have a licensed counselor who comes to campus 2 days a week. People can schedule online or they can see her in person or by Zoom. And that's provided some extra support for the students, as we've seen in most places that has been needed. Some opportunities. There's no special negotiation for nursing instructors. We're kind of finding they're treated the same as all other contracted faculty and they have to work 18 credit hours a semester. And it doesn't really take into consideration the extra time for lab, clinical simulation, planning and execution. So they don't really overload. So we just talked a little bit to administration about finding ways to supplement them to help them keep their good faculty that they have and hopefully not lose them to industry, because that's kind of one of the issues that's really facing a lot of programs right now. The TEAS is used for acceptance to the program. The percentage of this admission score that's put on the TEAS is very high compared to other inputs on the rubric. If they're turning away applicants, consider looking at how the TEAS is used for admission, the possibility of allowing what might allow for, there was discussion about how many applications and how many people were receiving that and whether the TEAS test was really the best way to look at that. But anyway, just an opportunity to kind of look at that as an admission if there might be losing opportunities to have students who could be successful without that as the highest criteria. The systematic evaluation plan, it currently addresses the criterion from the ASIN standards. Just consider identifying and monitoring only the criteria you are really wanting to make changes and where the improvement plan can be a more workable document. Right now, it's just, it's a little bit overload and really to make it a workable document for you looking at a review of the program. The program director job description, again, consider updating the language to better reflect director responsibilities. Similar to the last one, there's a lot of teaching responsibilities still in that description where the director has responsibility for both programs and development of faculty and all the other things it's hard to maintain all of that and teach as much as they are doing right now. All the nursing job descriptions, we've discussed taking out the or eligible for licensure in the licensure section. It's doesn't fit what the regulation, needs it to have. The faculty and administrators should all have current unencumbered license to be employed. So the eligible for licensure just needs to be taken out. One contract was an evergreen contract, but consider a process to review periodically with facility and the to have a document review. It was kind of old and nobody who had signed it was around anymore. Just to make sure there's a process for review and make sure everything is still current in the contract. The IB certification, the student checklist, just clarify the language to reflect when the student is cleared to do a live stick. There was some discussion about that with students. And so to make that document clear when they're cleared and when they've successfully completed it, it was a little fuzzy. And I think we talked about that as well. Recommendation is to, I didn't really put this in the opportunity, a policy for culling nursing library resources on a routine basis. We did find that there were several places where outdated things were. Most of the resources are online, so it hasn't been a huge issue, but there are some things that are sitting around that they're a little too old for. They're gone. They're already gone. There we go, taken care of. And submit to the compliance officer by March 31st of 2024, what your policy intends to be going forward, and recommend reapproval of the program for 5 years.
Okay, any questions? Okay. No questions, no discussion. Is there a motion to approve the site visit report for the North Central Kansas Tech College Beloit PN program?
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for North Central Kansas Technical College Beloit PN program and reapprove the PN program for 5 years.
Okay, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Debbie Pyle. I will second.
The motion's been seconded. Is there discussion on this motion? Okay, I'm calling for a vote. All in favor state aye. All opposed state no. Abstains state abstain. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you. Next up is Mid-America Nazarene's Adult Gerontology Primary Care Nurse Practitioner Program. Follow-up after first graduation. Is there a representative from this program? If yes, please come up.
Hi, this is Dr. Sarah Miller, and I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Nursing at Mid-America Nazarene University.
Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Sarah. Janelle, please review the
Okay.
strengths, opportunities, etc. Thank you.
Right. We did the follow-up, the Adult Gerontology Primary Care Nurse Practitioner Program had, I think I got to be a part of that initial site visit for them as well. But we did this follow-up after first graduation. They've actually had some graduates during this year, but this was the first opportunity to kind of see how things were going and how board certifications were going. So we did that visit on November 7th and 8th, and I was able to do that with Dr. Ruth Burkhart, who's our board member and chairman today. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my spot there. Strengths we identified for the program is there's strong program leadership. Right now, the program is kind of small, but the dean and the director for the nurse practitioner program both have kept the program in community relationships, and where they have preceptors are very strong. The community support and reputation for the program and the graduates. The online preceptor process for orientation and feedback is very good. They get really good feedback from their preceptors and are able to use that in their program evaluation. Students absolutely would recommend the program. They feel very supported in the program. The nurse practitioners, a lot of them are working while they're doing this as well, and just feel like there's a lot of support from the faculty and directors of this program. On-ground intensives, they have their students, they do most of their didactic, or all their didactic is online, but they come in, is it twice a year, Sarah?
Yes.
For these intensives where they can do simulation and lab, and they get a lot of hands-on, and they get to meet each other and work with the directors, and they all feel like that's a great opportunity that this program provides for them, and feel like it really strengthens what they're doing. The communication and connection to other departments, they don't feel isolated. They feel like they're part of the nursing department. They have strong student supports, their library resources, assistance with research components for these advanced practice folks is very strong. And we heard that from the library as well, as they provide those supports as well. Opportunities for improvement. The students felt that this was something that they provided feedback on, that the 8 weeks for the 3P courses are kind of short. They'd like to see the semester courses for some of those with other theory courses as the 8-week option. So we just talked about that as a potential to look at as they move forward. Library has great online resources, and there's still some book resources on the shelves that are older. Like, again, that seems to be kind of the other things have taken priority, and everybody really looks to their online resources, but suggested removing some of those resources that are more than 5 years old, and to have a policy for making sure that that stays with just their current, especially with their clinical references. The recommendation is to reapprove the program for 5 years. At this time, it's not been accredited. Right now, it's on a little bit of a pause. They're doing some reorganization in that curriculum, but the program itself, as it exists, seems to be sound, and the graduates are doing well. They've had 100% board certification pass rates. So with that, I recommend reapproval for 5 years.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Questions? All right. Calling for a motion. Is there a motion to approve the site visit report, excuse me, for the Mid-American Nazarene Adult Gerontology Primary Care Nurse Practitioner Program?
Madam Chair, this is Debbie Pyle. I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for the Mid-American Nazarene University ACP CNP program and reapprove the program for 5 years.
Thank you. A motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde. I second.
The motion's been seconded. Is there discussion on this motion? Right, I'm calling for a vote. All in favor state aye, all opposed no. And if you're abstaining, state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state no. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, Janelle. We're going to move now to Garden City Community College PN program reapproval. Is there a representative from this program? If there is, please come up.
I think Shelley is planning to be virtual.
Okay.
Colton, I hope I put that on there. Yeah, there she is. Okay. So I think I
Okay,
did.
welcome, Shelley. All right.
Okay.
All right.
There
Oh,
we go. Now we have Shelley.
Hi, I'm Shelley from Garden
Okay.
City Community College.
Okie doke. Well, let's get started with this report. So the reapproval visit we did was for the PN program at Garden City. We did that visit on November 14th and 15th. It was myself and Patty Palmietto was the other site visitor for this visit. And strengths we found for the program, the nursing faculty, there's a lot of longevity with the program, which is nice to see. Community reputation of the program, and the faculty that have been working with the students, very solid. Clinical sites say the faculty are easy to work with, and they are very collaborative as well. They really enjoy having their students there. The program faculty and staff are very student forward. They work hard to be successful. That came from the advisory. They have really great clinical opportunities for the program. They have instructional coaches that work with their faculty, which has been helpful for them. even with their longevity there, as some of the new ones come on board, they're always giving them help and ideas of how they can improve what they're doing and what they're presenting in the class. The college has a new STEM center at the college, which was really fun, kind of fun to see all the things that are going on with their science and technology areas and how nursing students are kind of finding their way over to that building sometimes to work. They have little alcoves for studying and big whiteboards they can use for, and we found several places where nursing students had been present. We could tell by what were on the whiteboards. But it's a really nice facility and hopefully a draw for students who are interested in areas, and it might be a draw for nursing as well. Library facility is well equipped for study and resources. They have a lot of support for the students and finding resources if they need them. The librarian visits the classrooms and talks to the nursing students about what their resources are, both online and on-ground resources. They still have a pretty large on-ground area, which are primarily, their books aren't necessarily that many, but they have a lot of resources for them. They have a room that's committed to, has a lot of anatomy and physiology kinds of things, models and things they can use. And again, we found a lot of evidence of nursing students that have been using those rooms. The advisory board states that the rigor of the program is good and has historically been a very exceptional program, and they are very pleased to be working with the program. Majority of the students are planning to go on with the ADN program. They feel very comfortable with the faculty and asking questions and would highly recommend the program. There are also designated scholarships for nursing. Many students were on the Promise Scholarship. We kind of ask whenever we're out, and that's a state scholarship. That's kind of a payback scholarship, but they have several students from their program that are on that scholarship and taking advantage of that. Some opportunities, prereqs need to be clarified, need to be in the same in the handbooks as they are in the website and self-study. There was a little bit of discrepancy to get that cleaned up. Process to ensure all faculty files are up to date and have all the KSBN required information. Program evaluation plan opportunities we talked about tying the program evaluation plan to their faculty meetings and discussions to show how assessment of the program is and tie it into that evaluation plan. We could talk to faculty and see it. The plan wasn't quite as clear and the faculty minutes weren't quite tying it together. So to really show that process and show how those things and how those decisions are being made. Assure the costs for their nursing program are transparent to potential students. Some had issues getting cost estimates and prior to being admitted to the program. So just said to make sure that's readily available for the students or potential students. There were some that mentioned having issues getting return calls and emails when they were inquiring about the program. There have been some changes in the advising process. And so just making sure that communication happens all the way from the advisory where it starts over to the nursing department. The students were stating information sometimes given to potential students wasn't always the same depending on where the information was coming from. So we talked about just making sure that communication was clear from top to bottom regarding the nursing program. Talked about they're using ExamSoft for giving exams, but not really utilizing the assessment opportunities that are part of that. There's some analytics that does to do a little bit more with the test opportunities for analytics on the testing side. Faculty needs to be involved in leading assessments for the program evaluation process. One of the things is even though they have longtime faculty, weren't seeing quite where the faculty was as involved in the program evaluation and to make sure that the director isn't the only one doing that process. Currently, 5 of the 17 members who are clinical community representatives on the advisory committee. So we have 17 representatives and many of those from the school. So we just recommended, or there's an opportunity to create more community spaces on that committee and maybe not less staff, but at least more community folks for that advisory. So the recommendations to develop a policy or process to ensure all KSBN required documents are in the faculty files and to send that documentation to the compliance officer.
City Community College PN reapproval report. Okay, if not, I call for a motion to approve that site visit report for the Garden City Community College PM program.
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for the Garden City Community College PM program and recommend reapproval for 5 years.
Okay, thank you. A motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde. I second.
Thank you, Amy. We have a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? No discussion? We'll move to a vote. So all in favor state aye, all opposed state no, and if you're abstaining, state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state no. Are there any abstentions? The ayes have the majority. The motion passes. Thank you, everybody. We're moving now to the Fort Scott Community College ADN focused site visit. This is located in your on-site packet. Do we have a representative from this program? If so, would you please come up, and then Janelle discuss the strengths, opportunities for improvement and recommendations for the site visit. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and let you all introduce yourselves before I say anything about the report, if you wouldn't mind doing so.
Okay, good morning. My name is Jason Kegler, President, CEO of Fort Scott Community College.
Sonia Gugnani, Vice President of Academic Affairs, Fort Scott Community College.
And I'm Sarah Holder, one of the faculty of the nursing program.
Nice to see you, Sarah. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
So, thank you, Ruth. So, at the request of the board at the last meeting, we did a focus visit, based on, primarily on the NCLEX first-time pass rates. We had some things come up in discussion. We had the director at our last meeting, kind of talking about what the plan for the analysis and plan for improvement was. The board felt like there were still a few things missing, so asked us to go ahead and do the site visit before admission of the next class. And since the admission deadline for their next class was on December 1, we needed to get that visit done before then. So we slipped it in on November 29th and 30th. And we're able to do that. Site visitors, Carol Moreland, our executive director, and Patty Palmiero and myself were the site visitors for the focus visit. It's a little bit, it's not the standard reapproval. We do look at a lot of the same things, but it's really focused on what's happening with those pass rates, some of the other things that we identified in the improvement plan. So that's what the report entails. It's a little bit different than what you see in your normal reapproval report. So what we did was take the analysis that was provided by the program director and looked at the factors that were identified. And some of the things we found identified really weren't spoken to as much, so that what you'll see is kind of our findings during the visits. And I've tried to put, when we got down to the end of the report, so there are several things in the report, and I'm sorry it was an onsite because there just wasn't time to get it into the packet before it was posted. But a few of the things we talked about at the last visit, but I'm just going to draw your attention to, and since the time of the visit, we did have, or even before we did the visit, we knew that the director had resigned and that the program had already taken the steps to find an interim. The knowing that they couldn't move forward without that. So they have named an interim director. That is one of the things that has been done. And we'll give them a few moments when we're done here to discuss. We also received a strategic plan document a couple days ago, again, not in time to get it into the onsite, but we'll let you talk about that in just a minute here. I wanted to just kind of look at what we found on the report. So we did find some strengths that we wanted to bring out first. We did feel that there was a very strong commitment by the college administration to rectifying the issues that we were seeing with the nursing program. The college made the decision themselves to cease admissions for the spring semester, notified those students that had applied, let them know what was happening, and so that they could work through some of the changes needed regarding the program issues and to not bring more students into that. The director did give the resignation 2 weeks prior to the visit with the effective date, which is, I think, tomorrow, or it might have been Monday. I might have that wrong.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday. Okay, so I got that wrong in there. I think it was the 11th. I'm not sure why, but the 13th. That do have the interim director obtained who has the appropriate credentials and is actually familiar with Fort Scott, but they are also actively looking for a new director. Fort Scott does have some nursing specific scholarships for students, which is helpful. The scholarships are available also for students who are campus ambassadors, which we did find there were several of those who do that. So that does keep them a little more connected to the campus. And that the faculty is very committed to the students and to the community and to keeping that nursing program going. A lot of them work in the area right around Fort Scott. Opportunities for improvement. One of the things that we did find was that there is a satellite program that Fort Scott has in Peola. It's a little over an hour away. Right now, they're admitting students to both sites, and that may be a detriment for the students that are all remote. There isn't a faculty they've been able to keep on the campus there. So the discussion was there's an opportunity that might be a way to help some of the things that are going on with the program, that having that satellite may be a detriment to that. The tutoring needs may need to be ramped up for the nursing students. The Fort Scott has a little bit later admission date, so a lot of times they are getting students that may not have gotten into other programs. They're aware of that, they realize that, and in doing so, there may be some that just need a little more support going into the program. Not that they can't be successful, but to provide that support as they're coming in instead of waiting until they failed. The nursing building is they've got a very large building and a lot of space, but it's very removed from the main campus. And the students and faculty then are very removed from everyone else at that point. More student support services and oversight for those that are lower GPA students. They're still working very hard. They want to be part of that program. They were successful in lots of other ways, but academically just need more support. Stabilized faculty and clinical adjuncts from semester to semester. We heard from a lot of the students, they were seeing a lot of turnover. They were not seeing same from semester to semester. And it's a lot of burden on faculty as well when they're coming into that and having to, from what the last person did, and to try and take that over and to take over all of it for new faculty, and having that happen 2 or 3 years in a row, it's just not stable. The pay structure for the nursing faculty, which was identified as one of the issues that's potentially keeping, as we've seen other places, but again, felt like this was that at one point in time, the program had been very successful in recruiting faculty, but with changes, and of course, we know the changes in COVID and what industry is paying nursing right now makes it even more difficult. But to really look at that pay structure and see what can be done for nursing faculty. The nursing leadership was not considered strong. This was a lot of community and student input altogether, and is forward thinking. The administration for Fort Scott is very new, so they're just learning too about the nursing program. So that was there's just an opportunity there. We know that you can't change that, but going forward to make sure that they're connecting with the nursing program. Identified that publisher test banks were used for all testing, and that's an option we've talked a lot with other faculty about, especially newer faculty that may not be as aware that those test banks are available out on the internet and students can find those very easily. It just creates some academic integrity issues and to be really careful with that. And having the faculty more involved in how they're testing instead of just using test banks straight from a book. That's just an opportunity. Less academic integrity issues as well. Professional development and tuition reimbursement for nursing faculty. Right now, Fort Scott has two. They might be short a couple of instructors. But they've got two faculty that are both working, one working on a degree to get to the point that they need to be in, another one who's considering that process right now, but still a little bit in flux about where to do that. But to maybe see what can be done about help for reimbursement for them with all that they're already doing. And some professional development because they're not at the level to help them with the teaching and learning aspects of the program. Update the student handbook with the most recent information. We found that there were places in the student handbooks that were dated back to 2019, so they weren't current. And that all faculty should be, this has been a problem because faculty had a lot of changeover, but to make sure faculty is working together for the program and that program reviews are being done and go through college assessment, helping them with that assessment of the program to really get to what some of the issues are for the program. More feedback from the nursing faculty to the gen ed faculty. We do always kind of talk with them as well. There's a lot of gen eds that are taught on that campus. And I think there were gen ed faculty who wanted to help and provide support and felt like they would like better communication with the nursing faculty and how they can help. And we're very willing to do that. And more transparent communication between administrators, faculty, and nursing students. I think one of the things we found was the nursing students just weren't quite aware of all the things that were going on and felt a little in the dark about everything. So keeping them informed and helping them with what their issues are would be very helpful. Recommendations, we're asking to have Fort Scott present a strategic plan and an update to the education committee and the board by the December 12th, 13th meeting. That's here and we'll get to that. Part of the thing was we needed proof of financial stability to support the program with the strategic plan. There were some questions about that when we were there, so we wanted that to be part of the strategic plan. Follow up with the education committee and the board at each quarterly meeting as that strategic plan rolls out, and to keep doing those updates until KSBN feels like the stability is there. Do a thorough program review with improvement plan for assessment and submit with an update to the systematic evaluation plan. It needs to include review of the entire program and needs to include expected outcomes, data analysis, and plan for action in each area of the plan. That just wasn't evident in the plan that we saw. And submit at least that first draft to the nursing education compliance officer by March 31st of 2024. Submit major curriculum change requests for any course that is planned to be taught with a hybrid or remote teaching methodology. We found there was one change that had been made and no major curriculum change had been brought forward. That is in regulation. And so any change in type of teaching methodology needs to come to the board before that is implemented at the school level. Submit all ASIN documentation from the 2020 site visit through present. And any actions by ASIN to the KSBN compliance officer by January 31st of 24. And then last one here is to remain on conditional approval with no new admissions until a follow-up visit is done and the program is approved for new admissions. Again, these were the recommendations based on the information we found, but this is for you, the board. And Ruth, we had asked the president and vice president of academic affairs are here, and the strategic plan, like I said, was presented or sent to us just a couple days ago, but not able to get to the on-site packet. So we would like for them to have an opportunity to spend a few minutes with that.
Yes, thank you, please. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for allowing us to be here and the opportunity to present our strategic plan. As I said, my name is Jason Kegler. I'm the president of Fort Scott Community College. Since the team, the site visit team left us, we have done, significant amount of work to try to rectify the situation that we find ourselves in. And, this is in no way, shape or form anything that any of us are proud of, but we're here, we're gonna make amends. And so, and the important thing that I want the board to know is that the community, the college, the board of trustees, they all support things that we are doing to make this right. So, just some highlights on the strategic plan that we've talked about, that has been submitted. We do have an interim director. Darkis Kotowitz is our interim director. She is in place as of this morning. And so we're excited that she is taking the reins over and that she's going to be able to help us transition into a new director, a full-time director. Some of the other things that we have done, we're visiting with students about and getting some feedback based on the site report, but plus just things that we had heard. And so we've had some serious conversations with the students to get some perspective from them about what their experience has been, because we feel like that's been a gap that we don't feel like we've addressed very well. So we've done that. We also have established a nursing program task force. That task force is specifically designed to look at the future of the nursing program for Fort Scott Community College. That includes myself, Sonia, all of our faculty, all of our nursing faculty. We've got some gen ed faculty members, and then we'll also include students and community members. And so it'll be a rather large task force. Ideally, we'll break that down into some more manageable groups that can tackle specifics. But as a whole, that's one of the things that we've done. We've started, and we'll be meeting in January. So moving to January, we have agreed to cease admissions, not only for the spring, but obviously for the foreseeable future. We know that there is a strong probability that we may not have things lined up for admissions in the fall, and we're prepared to handle that. And let me backtrack a little bit. One of the things that's not on our strategic plan that did happen at last night's board meeting is we've created a separate area within academic affairs. It will be called health programs. And so that will oversee our allied health, our EMT, and our nursing program. And so all of those programs will report through to this associate dean, who then reports to Sonia. Just gives, and that person's responsibility will be specifically to look at compliance and the assessment piece. And so really to beef that side of it up. But also they're going to be another voice for the nursing program in terms of these are things that we need. So these are some of the deficits. These are some of the areas that we need to that we need to be better at. And so there's strength in those numbers. And I'm excited that our board approved that last night at the board meeting. And so we'll have that person named in the coming weeks. So moving back to the strategic plan, we have eliminated the satellite facility at Paola. Had that conversation last week. All of those students who are interested in continuing in the program are coming down. So we will not have to do any hybrid type courses. So we will be in compliance with that particular recommendation. We're going to submit ASIN documentation as required by the 2020 site visit, and then report that to you all as you have asked. We've also looked at our admissions policy, and pardon me, I'm going to read it because I can't speak that language. The current policy states that students can be readmitted to the nursing program if they have not failed the same course twice and can complete the program within 150% of the program length to the time from the time of the original admission. The new policy will state to be eligible for readmission to the nursing program, students can only repeat the same class once and must be able to complete the program within 150% of the program length from the time of the original admission. So we've tidied that up and in response to the feedback that we received. We're also hosting, some community forums, community alumni and professional forums to get some perspective from our external partners. You know, a lot of times, I think we get siloed within institutions and we try to do this all ourselves. And so we really want to get some feedback, and get information and get access to our partners. We'll also partner with other nursing faculty from other programs within the region to provide, professional development. And so, you know, we're not that far. Being in Southeast Kansas, there's a stone's throw from a lot of other programs. And so we can go and see what works and what we can duplicate on our campus. And so that will start in January. I had a conversation with the faculty last week, and they've devised a plan to where they can get out and see some of the other programs. And so they were very, very excited about that. We're going to provide support for students with qualified tutors in place. So one of the other things that we have done is we have identified space on the main campus to move the nursing program from the current facility back to our main campus. And if we had about 2 more weeks before the semester started in January, we might be able to get it done, but it looks like we may have to stay put for the spring semester and then bring them back in the fall. But I fully expect that they will be back in the fall. And there was a significant amount of excitement from the faculty about the space that we've selected for them. I don't know if they're going to like it or not, because they'll be very, very close to me, but that is beside the point. We can figure that piece of it out. But, you know, it was telling for me, as the president, that in talking with some of them have never even been to that area of our campus. They had never been to the bookstore. And that's, you know, and so while one of the other presentations was going on, I wrote down onboarding process, because that was what someone else had mentioned. And so, you know, we need to tighten that up and provide that opportunity. So we're excited from that standpoint. We're going to do some incentives for floor nurses. We also are going to formalize our student representation. We have a student organization, but it's more of a community service group. We want them to be part of this decision-making process. So we're going to have a student nursing association president who's actually meeting with the director on a regular basis, monthly, if not more than that. But then they'll also sit in on all of the committees and the task force. And so anything that we're doing, we want students to be at the table. I think that's important for the longevity of the program. We'll also be working with the assessment committee. So moving into March, we'll be working on the assessment committee, and with the plan to come back to this organization. But ultimately, by April, we hope to create and be able to really, really detail a model that's going to be sustainable, and that's going to be in compliance at the very least. But then that's going to be able to move us forward and get us back. I mean, we know that several years ago we had a very, very respected program, and so we want to be able to get back to that. And so that would be what we submitted. Couple other things that this group would want to know is that in addition to the money that the budget that we shared, we also approximately $600,000 had been earmarked for this transition for nursing from the current facility to a different facility. Last night at the board meeting, we sold that other facility. And so we have that pot of money that we can dedicate to the program itself. And so it had been earmarked for that, so we couldn't touch it. But since we sold the facility and we're bringing them back to campus, now we have access to that. So that will help. Professional development, we have a plan in place for faculty to get their next credential in the form of professional development reimbursement for those courses. And so we've made a lot of strides in just a few days, really. I wouldn't call it weeks, but in a few days, and we continue to move forward. So I'll let.
I think you covered it pretty well. And I mean, if you guys have any questions about anything, we'll be happy to answer.
I do. I have a couple of questions. I think more because I was there and I've seen the stuff, and thank you for sending that, Sonia.
Mhm.
So was the budget that was presented to us as the committee, was that approved by your board of trustees?
So that was approved by our board back in July,
Oh,
September.
yeah.
September. So, and our system is pretty antiquated and so outdated. Actually, it was created in 1979. So, and so getting information out of there, we're moving to a different system that will allow real-time access for directors, for people to be able to see what's in the budget. So
Okay.
they don't have to call the office to get it.
Okay, and then I just have one more. So when you said incentive for floor nurses, what exactly does that mean?
Like the ones who are working at the hospital, and if they are helping with our students, the clinicals or something like that, or they can teach during that time. And I think one of our advisory board member works for the hospital, and so we are looking into it. And she kind of alluded that there is a possibility that if the student is tagged with one of the nurses, they could teach those kids at the same time, so we may.
So use them as a preceptor?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Any additional questions or discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the focused site visit report for the Fort Scott Community College ADN program?
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero. I move to accept the focus site visit report with recommendations for the Fort Scott Community College ADN program and recommend the program remain on conditional approval and that a follow-up site visit shall be done with the National Accreditation ASIN visit on September 24th through the 26th in 2024.
A motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde, I second.
The motion's been seconded. Any further discussion on this motion? We'll move to the vote. All in favor state aye, all opposed state no. If you're abstaining, state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state no. Any abstentions? The ayes have the majority. The motion passes, and I want to thank our guests from Fort Scott Community College and thank you for your report. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will move on now.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
would it be possible to have a break?
yes. I can benefit as well, so I can go cough. Thank you so much.
How about 15 minutes?
15
that
minutes,
work?
okay, thank you. 15
All right,
minutes,
all right.
thank you.
Bye.
Nope, we can't hear you, Cole.
We ready to get started? All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're going to proceed now to new business. We have an initial program application, PN program with Allied Health Career Training. Is there a representative of Allied Health Career Training present to present? If so, please come forward, introduce yourself, and present your request.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Connor Powell. I'm the CEO of Allied Health Career Training.
Diane Powell, Director of Education, co-owner of Allied Health Career Training.
And speak up as much as you can so that they can all hear you on.
So we have brought our updated copy of our student handbook. What you guys currently have, we submitted back in September for the deadline. We have done a lot of work on it since. So I don't know if you'd like me to hand that out now, or I can leave it on the table for you guys to receive later.
Yeah, we'll need a copy for the minutes, and then if you just maybe want to leave it there and just kind of talk through maybe what are the changes. Would that be possible?
Our original one, when we turned in our program application, was that the application wasn't real clear on that it had to be done. So we just turned in, from reading it, it appeared that the full student handbook wasn't something that you did until you did the site visit, which I think is still true. But and so we just turned in the one we had really that we had hardly worked on because it wasn't a focus. So then since then, of course, we've done a lot more work on everything. So, and to find out there, you know, there's just so much information in there, and it just clarifies things so much more. A lots going on in September.
Okay. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are, what your request is in terms of this program and what your plan is?
Yes, thank you. So we put in our application to have our practical nursing program. And then, of course, afterwards, the in-depth site visit. And then we hope to be admitting students late spring, early summer type of thing. We're non-traditional type of school. We know what, we're very small. But this has been something that it's been our dream. It's been something that we've really wanted, and I really wanted to get this done before I fully retire. I'll feel like them. So
Historically, we focused on certificate level education. It's our understanding that we're the largest provider of allied health certificate training in the state, like single provider. We train more than half of all the CNAs and CMAs in Sedgwick County. We've been in business 12 years. We have a lot of really good relationships in the community. Industry really champions us. So it's been pretty easy for us to integrate with them, develop connections and partnerships outside influence to help develop this program. And doing things like future job placement programs and things like that is a priority for us since, like Diane said, we are a bit of a non-traditional school. We are privately owned and not federally accredited, so we don't accept student loans. So it is very important for us for our students to be gainfully employed and they receive all of the additional training, not just what is required for their licensure to be successful in the career.
we do have some opportunities out there for funding that we can find students and work really hard on that. We love what we do. It's a passion of ours. And it's something we're really committed to having come to fruition.
Are you planning on are you going to stick with the one admission per year with 20 students, or is that just a starting point and you are going to grow it?
Eventually, yes, we at some point. I think 20 for now, for the foreseeable future is probably where we'd like to be.
Yeah, we didn't want to bite off more than we could chew for sure. So,
Yeah.
Are there any further questions or discussions?
Ruth, can you give me just 1 second? Because
Yes.
I do want to ask about the timeline, but I want to do it right. So it says here that you're looking at doing admitting students by February of 24.
We know we can't.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yes, that was back when we submitted it and reading the application, it appeared we were just following from what we could read.
Okay.
You know, and I think we misunderstood.
yes, we misunderstood the timeline. And,
Yes.
so that.
So we
February-
know that's not. gonna
Okay.
happen. We're actually looking at probably mid-May anyway.
Because I had been on site visits and hadn't gotten to the application until a little bit later, so. we didn't talk
Yes,
about that.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you have the site already, you have a site for this program already?
Yeah, in 2019, we actually built a new campus for ourselves. It is specially designed for allied health professions. So we have skills labs and everything built in, and there's room for us to expand if we do choose to. So it's kind of been in the works for quite a long time. So everything's been pre-planned out, and like Diane said, it is our dream. So we've been working on it for a while. So yeah, we have dedicated space, dedicated faculty to this program.
Okay. And you've gotten clinical contracts, letters of support for
All of
clinicals, all of that
I
stuff?
think we have, I've got, I think we're at 9 sites, and there's only one I don't have the full contract back from now.
Okay. And then, I'm searching to make best of Ruth's time, but, can you tell me what the cost for the program?
About 16.8. It's all inclusive. All of our classes we've always done are all inclusive. We like that for our students. That price is that price. Includes their scrubs, their skills shirts, and, you know, stethoscope, skills packs, everything, no technology fees, nothing.
We would provide a laptop to all of our students just in case they have technological disadvantages that way. And an in-house IT professional to help training for all the additional software and LMS we provide. So.
Okay. And these are kind of, because I see that you have online classes for some of it. And then you have lecture and skills, which would be on site, correct? Okay, and then skills lab is there, but all of the didactic is going to be online?
We do have a dedicated instructor who will be have open office hours. So this instructor, this will be their only task is to teach this course. So they'll have plenty of open office hours, tutoring time, ability to work directly with the students on everything. So we want to make sure that if there is issues with the online learning, that those bridges are crossed with somebody.
And is this person also available when they're actually on site for skills lab and things she could actually like face to face with them?
Yes.
Yep.
Have 4 instructors, and 2 are just instructors are full-time. And then myself and another part-time.
And you're gonna be the director of nursing? No,
No,
there's a different person.
yes.
Any further questions? Is there a director of nursing stated? I was going back through the packet.
Young Platt.
Yes, there is.
Okay,
I find the page for you, just a second.
thank you.
On page 187.
Thank you.
Diane Kaufman.
Danielle.
Danielle.
All right, thank you. All right. If no further questions or discussions, this will go to a vote. Excuse me. Calling for a motion to approve the initial program application for Allied Health career training for a PM program.
Madam Chair, this is Michelle Haley. I move to accept the application for a practical nurse education program for allied health career training with an on-site visit to be done prior to admission of students.
Okay, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Amy Hyde. I second.
The motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote on the motion. All in favor, state aye. All opposed, no. If you're abstaining, state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor, state aye.
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 All opposed, state no. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have the majority and the motion passes. The next item of business is the NCLEX test plans. Janelle, do you want to share some information about these test plans?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I think this was a request. Some of this, a lot of you on the committee are already aware of the test plans because you use them, but it's kind of an informational idea. We had a lot of discussion about the test plans because of the issues with pass rates this year and looking at how the student petitioners that we have use this kind of thing. So a question was raised to ask just a little bit more about the test plan. And so they're included, there's both an RN test plan and a PN, and I'm going to just kind of talk to one because they're similar in how they're developed. It's just for the different level and the scope. So they'll be a little different in how they're stated within the plan, but just in looking at the reason, one of the things we wanted to point out is that, you know, for a lot of programs, the NCLEX test plan is how their curriculum and teaching plans are developed, because the test plan is intended to really provide detailed information about content areas that are tested on the NCLEX, and those are all based on analysis and surveys that are done for practice. So the test plans are updated every 3 years. And in between those updates, whenever a new update comes out, NCSBN does what they call a practice analysis. And so the practice analysis for the 2023 changes was started in 2021. And they survey thousands of new grads, and they ask them specific questions about what they're doing, how often they're doing it, what are the most, you know, what are the things that they're most involved with as a new practice person. And they take all that information, and they have psychometricians who do all kinds of magic with that and are able to pull out what they call related activity points. That's not the right word, but I'll get there. But that analysis really helps them build then what they're looking at as new grads are changing, as things are changing in practice. They're getting that analysis, they're putting that into the test plans, and that's how the test then develops and continues to grow and evolve and be pertinent to current practice for those, for the ones that are coming out of school, and for the test plans that the schools are using to kind of have a basis for them to build their curriculum and help students understand how they can be successful and what kinds of things they need to be focused on when they're in the process of studying nursing. So again, the purpose is really just to serve as a guide in preparing candidates for the NCLEX exam. They can look at the test plans. They can see what's out there just like the faculty can. The faculty have some additional things that they can look at. If any of you have looked, I don't know if any of you have ever seen our petition. We require petitioners who are trying to be successful with the NCLEX to develop a study plan, and we ask them to address the 8 content areas. Well, that's based on the NCLEX, that's based on the test plan. So that's what NCSBN does when they look at developing that, is to look at those 8 areas are basically 4 client need areas. And I always forget one if I don't look, but there's also subcategories. So we always ask them in their study plans to address those areas of care. And now with the next gen, the thing that's kind of been added to that with not only are they looking at the client needs, but they're looking and then at the clinical judgment model within the client needs and addressing how nurses are, it's kind of what they would think like a nurse kind of thing. So the clinical judgment model looks at how are they looking at for cues, how are they analyzing those cues, how are they then making decisions about what to do next, then taking action, and I might be missing a step, sorry if I am, and then following up, what did my intervention do? Because one of the things they found, and one of the evolutions of this test plan and what's in here, is that taking action piece is one of the things that they have found to be one of the highest error areas is new nurses failing to take action because they are either missing cues or not putting them together. They're not having it, whether it's not enough time in the clinical areas to really get to that point, whether they're not understanding how to do it. So I think the test plan really is been developed to help them with sort of, oh, there you go.
So the 4 basic areas
Thank you.
now are noticing, are they able to do a focused observation? Are they able to recognize deviations? It's interpreting, it's both the data and then making sense of the data as it relates to an individual patient, responding, which is interventions, flexibility with interventions, are they skillful, clear communication, and then recognizing patient problems, and then reflecting. Can they actually do a plan of care off of everything they just did?
Yeah, and I think that's where, the idea for the test plan is to help with them prepare for how the exam's going to be. What we're finding with the next gen, because of all these pieces that are in there, it does follow that clinical judgment model. And a lot of the students are finding that to be very much more intuitive to them than the old, multiple choice question that may be out of context for them. What they're able to do with the type of questions they're getting and the case studies, that what they're finding at that type of presentation and is very helpful to that kind of thinking. So the test plan really then sets them up for what the NCLEX will be, but it also takes into account how it can be applied to curriculum. So there are resources that are available, the test plan, not only for, like I said, for faculty, but for students as well. And I think when we had the discussion last time, we just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that is available and that we encourage, whenever I'm out, most programs are already using this and those resources are available, but there are also some follow-ups being done with that as well. And so any new information, any new data that they're finding comes out from NCSBN, and there's actually an NCLEX, is it .org? Website that is specifically for that. And so test plans can be found there. There's also other kinds of data on current exams as well. So I don't want to go into a whole lot more detail. I think the awareness is that those test plans are there and that they're developed based on practice. They also, there is another piece of that. So the practice analysis is part of that, but then they also do a whole section, what do they call it, on the skills, knowledge, skills, and
KSA.
yes. And, but what's the A though?
Isn't it attitudes?
Thank you, sorry.
Yes.
Knowledge, skills, and attitudes of those graduates. So not only the practice survey, what they're, what's in practice, but they're also talking to those who are working in industry and working with new grads to know what kinds of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that they need to be building in programs. So I think all of that research that they put into that really makes those test plans very valuable and gives some guidance to, do I need to be worrying about this section? Well, most of the sections are fairly evenly weighted. There are a couple that do tend to be a little bit higher. And so that's, I think, what the plan does is let them know it's not all about just getting data and memorizing it, that there is a process to this and that they can figure out how to do that, and that the test plans really give them a lot of good data. I think
They also help us to blueprint our exams in our program as well.
Yeah, a testing, so there's a whole, all their sections, every section that of the client needs section like this, I'm just gonna take one, the management of care. So they have all these related activity statements that come from the practice analysis, but it gives them some focus of what could be asked, what kinds of things, what kind of focus, and they're related to the kinds of things that nurses do. So I think all of those things are helpful for anyone is trying to look at how to be successful, not only as an instructor working with students, but also the students themselves. So questions, we've got lots of experts up here, more so than me, but I do try to keep up with any new developments that they have for this, but most of the time they're pretty good about sending things out to everybody when they do have them updated. But other questions or just any comments for the good of the order? Or if there were any other questions, I hope I didn't miss what the intent of this was. So if anybody has a different memory, then please let me know.
Janelle, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. No other questions? All right. We can move now to new regulation review process. We're going to discuss the committee's review of the regulations listed on the agenda. We'll answer the question on the regulation review form for each regulation. So going to A, KAR 60-2-101, which starts on page 410. If you're following along on your education packet, how have the committee members answered the questions on the review form?
So I think last time we kind of looked at the actual regulation is on page 414. And what we were looking at is, for your part, if you hopefully have had a little time to look at it to see how you would like to respond to the questions that are there. And again, this is the review time for you all, and we will, once we have your input and that's written, then this will come back in March for your final approval, like we did today with the consent agenda for the others. So anyway, that's what I say.
Thank you, Janelle. Will that be for the B, C, D, and E as well?
Right, all of these we're trying to get into a draft of a review. So, and it would also give us time if there's something that you can't answer or you want more research on, that we can always bring it back. But the plan is to review it, decide what needs to go in these responses from your perspective, and then we'll bring it back for a final vote in March.
Great, thank you.
So
right.
just a quick
Yes.
question on clarification. Do you want those pre-submitted or to come to the March meeting with these filled out?
No, we'd like for you to respond to that today. If you've
Today,
got-
okay.
You've got something written down for the good of the order, just to discuss that and get those worked out on here, and we'll get it recorded and then bring it back to you in March for that vote.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. That was my question as well, so thank you. All right, we can move on now to unfinished business, draft revisions to KAR. Yes?
Ruth?
Yes.
We need to review each of these. We have 5 of them we need you to review. So each one of them needs to be reviewed individually with this form, and we need some draft language from you about what you want as part of that review. So
Are we on unfinished business? Are we back up on review regulation?
This is part of the regulation review.
Yes. Oh, I had misunderstood. Okay, well, no, we'll go back up then. We're on D then, correct?
Let's start with the first one, 60-2-101.
Yes.
The requirement for initial approval.
Yes. Okay, how would you like to proceed? I'm looking at that.
So I think for you all, it's a matter of looking at, you know, the necessity, is this a rule or regulation that you feel is necessary for implementation and administration of our state law?
Yeah.
And then does it serve as an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Okay. And so I think the big thing here is then we have to, as a organization, and Carol probably has a little more practice at this, but they're wanting more specific. So what happens if, describe how revocation would affect Kansans if you got rid of this? So that's where these, you can go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I can just kind of speak to this whole process again. And
Yes,
just remind
thank you.
what this is, there was actually a bill passed, by the legislature, I think probably about 2 years ago, in which they're requiring all the agencies to go through every regulation they have. We have 90 regulations in the Nurse Practice Act. We were given different timelines in which we have to do this report. And I mean, you guys, it's a huge report. It just goes on and on and on. But we have to give feedback for every regulation we have. We have to give this feedback that's listed on this form. So that's why we developed this form, is once you all give the feedback and decide what you want it to say, then I can take that and put it into the form. We actually have to have this done, I believe it's July 1st of 2025. These all have to be done, and that's when I have to have the report submitted over there. I think there's probably several reasons why they passed this law. You know, some agencies have a lot of regulations on their books that perhaps they don't really need, but they don't look at them very often, where we already had something in place to look at the 5-year review, but we never did it in this extent. I mean, we didn't talk about, okay, if this was to be revoked, what would happen? You know, how would this affect what we do? And so that's why we keep this in front of you, because there's a lot of work to do with 90 regulations. And it's not something that the staff needs to be doing, because when I go over there to talk about this, it needs to be that this was a board decision, not staff. Okay, does that kind of help a little bit?
And I apologize for bringing 5, but education has one of the highest, if not the highest number of regs. So there's, I think, 27 or 28 out of that 90 are ours. So that's why we're bringing, and we have, it seems like a long time to 2025, but we basically have 6 meetings to get all this done, realizing that we have to have the final approval of all of those. So we're trying to be as expedient as we can, but also knowing if there's something that stumps us up, we can always put it off and bring it back if we need to. So having said that.
Would you like me to then start with the 101, 60-2? How would you like me to proceed?
Yes. You could start with that one and we'll just.
They're a
proceed.
little out of order, so I'm looking for them. I'm on another computer, so I may need some help with this.
410 should be the start of 101, which is the review form. And then the actual reg that you're reviewing is on 414.
Yeah, it doesn't come up that way on my computer. I'm on another one with with the packet.
So Ruth, this is Patty. So when we did these at the last meeting, what we did was we just kind of looked at it and said, if it was revocated, you know, what would be the implications for that? So, like I wrote down on mine, revocation of this regulation would create instability and no commonality between the programs designated to train and graduate students of nursing, which are the people who take care of the people of Kansas. So the point is to show them how destructive it would be if it was to be revoked, where those implications lie.
Right. Yes, I remember that. And is that how we want to just go through each one and ask that? Oh, hi, Michelle.
Yes.
please.
Okay, then we will do that. I finally found my page, I believe. And I do apologize doing this by Zoom. Okay, 62-101. No, I do not have this. What page? I am so sorry. What page? You said this was on 410. I don't know.
410 is the form, and then the regulation would be on 414.
Okay, I'm gonna try to scroll down again. Okay, requirements for initial approval.
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm finally on the right place. Thank you. Okay. I know we've all read these. So after review, how do we believe a revocation would affect nursing education in the state of Kansas? What's the discussion?
Madam Chair, you might answer the two questions under necessity first. Is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? And then does the rule and regulation serve an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Yes or no? And then it's the potential for revocation. So if
Oh,
wouldn't
you want
mind-
me to go through the whole thing? Okay. Okay, got it.
We need all of it answered.
Got it. Okay, well, you've already
Sorry.
stated it for this first one. So do we vote now, or how would you like to proceed? I thought we were just discussing.
It is a discussion, but
Okay.
does everybody agree that the rule is necessary?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does the rule and regulation serve as an identifiable public purpose in support of state law?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then briefly describe how revocation would affect Kansans.
Patty had kind of the start of a statement. Right. If you guys
Mhm.
want to say it again.
Right.
Revocation of this regulation would create instability and no commonality between the programs designated to train and graduate students of nursing, which are the people who take care of the people of Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the discussion? Is the rule and regulation being revoked?
No, it's what would
No.
happen if it were to
There's
be.
a question there.
Do you want me to go through those last two or? Yes?
Okay, maybe, does everybody agree with what Patty said, or does somebody have something else?
have anything
additional? Maybe that, if we can figure out
Mine's
that
along the
one.
same lines. This would remove consistency among nursing programs in Kansas.
Yeah. I just added a piece about the mission and safety for the individuals in Kansas.
Okay, so we can, the form that we bring back in March will have these ideas in it. And then you can,
Okay.
that's what we kind of need to do here. Sorry. No worries. Getting confusing.
My apologies. I did misunderstand. All right. What
That's
needed
okay.
to be presented.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a new process.
So now number 2.
So number 2, do you want me to go to, is the rule and regulation being revoked?
No.
I thought we had said no. Number 3, if the rule and regulation is not in active use, would revocation require a change to the authorizing or implementing statute?
And it's in active use, so they didn't give you an NA, but that should be an NA because
Right.
it is in active use.
Okay. Let's see, the last one, number 4, if the rule and regulation is not in active use and revocation would require a change in the authorizer implementing statute, which changes.
Probably not applicable.
Not applicable.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I'm scrolling down, sorry. It's taking a
And
bit.
You don't have to, you put anything under the additional information unless you want to, so. If you. It's up to you.
Okay, we are at 102 then. KAR 60-102. This is reapproval requirements. We've all read that. Is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? Yes or no? Yes, we're all affirming that.
Yes, uh-huh.
Does the rule and regulation service an identifiable public purpose in support of state law?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone have written, describe briefly how revocation would affect Kansans?
I believe it would mirror what we just did with, because it's all about initial approval and reapproval. It's all the
Yes.
same. The same thing.
So we can use that language. Okay.
Maintaining standards. of
Maintaining,
nursing,
yes.
Okay.
Education.
Yeah.
Reevaluation of programs.
Okay.
to assure
I had
their-
integrity of program, maintain the integrity of program.
Is the rule and regulation being revoked?
I'm hearing a no here.
No.
Yeah, I just needed
Just
to
in
hear. If the rule and regulation is not in active use, would revocation require a change to the authorizing or implementing statute? Again, that should be an NA. And if the rule and regulation is not in active use and revocation would require a change in the authorizing or implementing statute, which changes. And again, that does not apply. So now I'm scrolling down. I'm so sorry. It just takes a little bit. Thank you for your patience with me today. Okay, we are now on KAR 60-2103. This is nursing program faculty and preceptor qualifications. And I know we've all read this.
Every day.
Is the rule and regulation necessary for implementation and administration of state law?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does the rule and regulation service an identifiable public purpose in support of state law?
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone written down briefly or have in mind briefly describe how revocation would affect Kansans?
Kind of.
Good start.
Is that you, Patty?
It is, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
The standards for qualified instructors and preceptors are paramount in ensuring that nursing students are educated to the full ability to conduct quality and safe care in the state of Kansas.
Okay,
Perfect.
yeah, I think that just sounds great.
That's how
Patty.
we started
Thank you. All right, so is number 2, is the rule and regulation being revoked?
No.
No.
No. If the rule and regulation is not in active use, would revocation require a change to the authorizing or implementing statute? Yes or no? And A, if the rule and regulation is not in active use and revocation would require a change in the authorizing or implementing statute, which changes, and there again is an NA. So now I'm moving to 104. Okay, here we have it. KAR 60-2-104 curriculum requirements, and we have all read that. We're ready to give feedback. Is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? Yes or no?
Yes.
So yes on that. Does the rule and regulation service an identifiable public purpose in support of state law?
Yes.
Okay. Potential for revocation. Briefly describe how revocation would affect Kansans.
I just drafted, you guys, you have the nursing language. To maintain the high standards of accredited programs, curriculum must be developed, and I know you do reviews, so I'm such a newbie at this, but that's where I started.
I have lead to inconsistency among nursing education that compromises safety and quality of patient care.
Good job. Yeah. Inconsistency.
Mhm.
All right. Any further? Thank you, Michelle. And Michelle, any further discussion on that one? Okay. Is the rule and regulation being revoked? No. Right? Yeah. If the rule and regulation is not in active use, would revocation require a change to the authorizing or implementing statute? That would be NA. If the rule and regulation is not in active use, and revocation would require a change in the authorizing or implementing statute, which changes, all righty? And that also is NA, and now we are on our last one, 105. After I scroll down to it. All right, here we are finally. This one is on clinical resources. All right. Is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Does the rule and regulation service an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We agree on that. Does anyone have anything written down or in mind? Briefly describe how revocation would affect Kansans.
Well, it would eliminate the clinical partnerships and clinical preparation of students.
Which is a key network. Mhm.
I put to revocate clinical resources which provide critical patient contact would strip nursing students of application between didactic and clinical partnerships.
Mhm. Great job. All right, any further comment on that one? All right. Is the rule and regulation being revoked? No. If the rule and regulation is not in active use with revocation, I have to say the whole thing, Janelle?
I'm trying to be patient.
A change to the authorizing or implementing statute, I'm sorry. So that's NA. And then number 4, if the rule and regulation is not in active use and a revocation would require a change in the authorizing or implementing statute, which changes, that's NA. And I think that covers all of our reviews. Is that correct? On the
Yes, Ruth, I would just ask for those that had written statements, if you wouldn't mind just giving those to us, we'll make sure those are compiled
Great.
into the response. And Michelle, if you want to email those to either myself or Stacy, we'll make sure those get in the final review, and then you'll have it next time to review a final version and make any changes that you want at that time. Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to the refresher course under unfinished business? I'm making sure I'm in the right area here. KAR 60, are we there? 60-3114.
Right, so this is the regulation that Carol was directed to last time. There were some changes made by you all and the board approved for the number of hours in the refresher course. So this is a draft of this regulation now with those changes. And so we're looking to you to make sure that the changes are what you wanted and decide if you want to approve them as they are, or if there's still other changes that you want to see. And so we're looking to you to decide if that's good, then it would be recommended to the board, and then could be taken through the process to get it put in place, unless you have other changes you want to see.
So this is, to clarify, this is at least 120 clock hours of didactic.
Right.
And then on the clinical, for the RN, we said 124 clinical with 96 in an acute care and 24 in a setting of choice.
For
And
RN.
then, yeah, okay, for the LPN or the PN program refresher course, 90 clock hours in an acute care or skilled nursing setting of choice.
Right, so the biggest change was then the clock hours went from 180 clock hours for both programs to, we had, remember, if we had looked at all of the different programs across the state, or as many as we could, to look and see what was happening. And so the board did make a decision to keep the didactic at 120 and then the RN at 120 for clinical hours with stipulation about how much in acute setting. And then for the LPN, 90 clock hours and their choice of an acute or skilled care because of the level of care. I think those were the only changes to that regulation.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion on this item before I call for a motion? Okay. So what I'm calling for a motion on is to approve the draft revisions to KAR 60-3-114 and start the revised regulation through the approval process.
Madam Chair, this is Michelle Haley. I move to approve the draft revisions for KAR 60-3-114 and to start the approval process.
Okay. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Patty Palmiero, I'll second.
All right, the motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion on this motion? All right, we'll proceed to vote. If all in favor state aye, all opposed no. Any abstentions state abstain. We'll start with the ayes. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed state no. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have the majority and the motion passes. I am suggesting that we table to the March 2024 agenda the APRN revised education regulations. The APRN committee will be discussing later today, and their feedback will be brought to the March 2024 meeting. Also, I'm proposing that we table to the March 2024 agenda the LMHT draft regulations. There are some proposed revisions to the existing regulations. We've seen those, and feedback from programs that expressed interest in having an LMHT or working with current programs.
Madam Chair, do
Yes.
you want to table it, or do you want to look at the feedback and discuss that? Or I wasn't sure. The APRN, definitely, we were looking for APRN to make some decisions and bring that back to the education committee. But we did put the LMHT feedback in there.
Right.
Didn't know what discussion you wanted to have this time before it might come back for a vote in March. It just,
Right, we
whatever
could
you
do
guys
that.
want to do, but we did put
Okay.
the feedback in there.
Should we discuss, group, the LMHT?
Or do you?
Yes is the vote. Go ahead and discuss that.
I
Okay,
think
then
at
it's
least a
open.
discussion.
Okay, then it's open for discussion.
And just, Madam Chair, if I may, just on the LMHT, what was done, just a little reminder, because it's been a couple meetings ago, maybe even 3. There were some, we had talked about there have been LMHT draft guidelines in draft for a little while. On the education side, we were trying to work to get them to be more in line with how we do the nursing regulation in terms of looking at curriculum and faculty and kind of making that more standardized, and to help in a review of programs as well, to make sure that was all set up that way. And in the midst of that, and Carol can correct me here if I misspeak this, but some of it too was we only had 1 or 2 regulations for LMHT. And so there was some discussion about when we went to the draft regulations, we came up with 7 or 8, 9, 10. There was a little concern that we legislature might get a little,
They don't like when you go over there and create more regulations. They're interested in having less regulations.
So what we did was work on that a little bit to try and combine where it made sense. So we did, it will still end up with more than what we had, but we also think it clarifies better and defines better what the program needs to look like. And then in moving forward, one of the discussions was, right now, the LMHT programs that we have, there are requirements for what we would consider some general education types of requirements, as well as then LMHT specific courses, as well as clinical. And so but right now the students who are going through those and getting that certification, they're spending a lot of hours doing that, but they don't have any credit. There's no college credit related to that. So some of the discussion that came up was about how, what might be the possibility for LMHT programs and the current and how it's currently being done to work together, or even if there were colleges or other allied health would be part of that process too, willing or interested in doing LMHT programs. So that's how that all started. So the draft regulations are here, and that's one piece of it. But before we went ahead with further draft or discussion or deciding on that, we wanted the feedback from those who had expressed interest in an LMHT program from the college level, and also the ones that currently have programs. So we sought input, and that's what you're seeing here, because we were trying to look at what are the contact hours. There was some concern over the number of contact hours for the program, because if you put that into an educational setting, all of a sudden you're putting them at higher credit hours than our LPN programs.
Right.
So there was discussion about what that might look like if there was a spot somewhere in the middle. So that's where this led back to discussion, and Carol may have something to add to that.
No, Janelle did a great job. I just wanted to back up maybe just a little bit more and kind of tell you about some discussion that's taken place in the legislature. There's a real concern about healthcare providers for mental health. And so it did come up, what are LMHTs? I will tell you, most of them over there had no idea what they were. So there was education done about the LMHTs, which was great. However, then they're like, well, how can we get more? How can we make it so that people will want to go into it? Okay, well, some of the thinking was if it could be a stepping stone to perhaps moving on to an LPN or something like that. But if they would have to start over and not have any college credit for what they've done already, that's probably going to discourage some people. And we actually heard that in a site visit that we did to the program that we have, is there's really not much of a way for them to advance and get credit for what they already have. So that was one of the things that was discussed over there, is perhaps we need to relook at this, and is there a way that it could be done similar to like nursing, they can get some college credit. You know, there's a new mental health hospital opening down by Wichita. So again, the need for mental health, healthcare workers is just going to increase and increase and increase. And I would imagine I will hear this question again when the session starts back up in January. And so that was another reason, is to try to perhaps make the LMHT more, get more people interested in it, with the intent that it would be easier for them to continue with their education and get credit for what they've done. That was kind of a long history here.
Thank you, Carol and Janelle. That's very helpful. So a possible 2-semester LMHT curriculum, is that what I know that's some of the feedback. I mean, this is very comprehensive. And what is the average pay for an LMHT in the state of Kansas?
Yep. Somebody in the audience, I'll see if they can answer that. Do you guys?
I believe it's around currently 17 to 18 is the
Okay,
starting.
17 to 18 an hour. Okay. And so currently, just so I can be clear, sorry, I'm new, everybody. Currently, they are not at 2 semesters, but we're attempting to give them course credit equivalent to college credit.
The current regulation has 450 hours of didactic and 450 hours of clinical time. So what happens is, because it's not in a college credit format, that's just the numbers that the program used to be at 250. And then at some point along the way, the board said that probably wasn't enough. The concern is maybe it went the other way, and that might be more, because when you translate 450 hours of didactic and clinical into contact hours, it ends up being more contact hours than your PNs and even close to some of the ADNs. Right. So it was felt, I think, that what in the feedback that 2 semesters, possible 30 hours, was someone, you know, some of the feedback was from people who were looking at how a program might be able to be done with college credit involved, and also to track some of the nursing content that's in the LMHT program. There's some basic nursing that's required in that content. So how does that coincide with foundations? So some of that was the feedback then, is that evolution of those who were considering the program and how that might look as a college course or certification course might be this. I think this is one of the recommendations, or one of the potentials.
As being more doable.
Yeah, as maybe a little more doable, as and still getting that credit and giving them a pathway that would be more in line with other health education career type ladders, is putting it somewhere, because somebody I think commented on the CNA, CMA, what those contact hours are, and then what it is for LPNs, and maybe trying to find, because it's not quite at the PN level, but it's a lot more than what the CNA, CMA. So what would that look like as maybe a certificate?
I was going to say, are they considering a certificate?
Well, I have kind of, this discussion has come up in a task force that I was on with KBOR, you know, to look at the healthcare shortages, worker shortages. And so I did kind of mention that, you know, there had been some discussion about this. And so I think they might be open to having some conversation if we get things squared away much better than what we have now, because right now it's just kind of an idea. I can certainly sit down with someone from KBOR and discuss, would there be a possibility they could get a certificate for this or something along that line.
Because don't they take a licensure exam?
They do. They take a licensure exam with us that they have to pass in order to get their license. I mean, they're licensed just like nurses. They have to renew their license every 2 years. They have to have 30 hours of continuing education applicable to their role. So it's very similar to nursing, other than the curriculum and everything looks a bit different, and they get no college credit. So just,
Would there be a change in where this would need to be offered, this LMHT course of study?
Well, if we give college credit, it's gonna have to be done at a place that's authorized to give college credit.
yeah, right now, that's not the case.
Would that be a hardship? Or make it more difficult for those that are currently seeking that work at certain places?
I don't think so. I think it would. I don't, is it meant to run congruently with the type of program that's being run now? Or would that type of program go away and it would all go flip over to a?
I think that's the
Credit
session
hour.
that you all have to have, because I think the program that we have right now is at Osawatomie. And I think they're happy with their program the way it is. The problems that they've ran into is they do not have enough staffing, because the students in their program are their employees and they stay their employees. So they're unable to get them off from the units to actually come to class and get the education. I'm looking at it to make sure I'm saying this correctly.
That has been the current, but we are looking at starting a program, even, leaving our agency and going ahead and going forward. At
Okay.
this point, we are looking perhaps a partnership.
Yeah, and I think in the past, that has been looked at. And maybe there's more potential for that now, because I don't think the intention was to, I think it just started the discussion of, is there a way to produce more LMHTs? And
we are in talks currently.
Okay.
I don't know if I can talk on that at this point, but we have discussed with local colleges that there could be a pathway, and we're working
That's
on a
great.
bridge that might, but I don't know if we're ready to
That's okay.
speak to that yet, but
It's sort of like the
But we are
old,
trying.
yeah, it's sort of like the older diploma programs where you had a clinical site. But they had educators helping with the didactic pieces, but then the clinical site's still obviously very, very important. And how to work with the sites that we do have, and Osawatomie being one of the bigger ones.
yeah,
we
because the
have.
diploma would be a good model, similar. to
Kind of
that.
right for that.
Just to also add to this, they renew their license every 2 years on, is it even years? December 31st is even?
I think it's even years.
Even? Okay, what we saw the last time that they renewed their license is we lost almost half of them.
Right.
And that, of course, got into the legislature. So again, they're just like, what, the process that you have right now, you're not putting out enough. So how can we supplement that? And we made it very clear to them that part of the reason is because the staffing at the state hospital did not allow them to be able to train more. And plus their faculty is also employees of the hospital, so they have to be able to, be released to be faculty. And so, again, the discussion went, well, is there a way to do something else? So there's been a lot of discussion about this, but I think it's all leading back to getting more LMHTs trained and giving them an incentive such as this could be a pathway to something else. It might be an entry point to go on and be an LPN.
We are faculty 100% of the time.
Right.
Larned was the one that had to have them
Okay, thank
be
you.
faculty.
Yeah,
But
okay.
Sherry and I are,
That's
our
our job.
position is that.
Okay.
While we haven't,
Thanks, but.
right, while we haven't had a course, we do have other job duties and things we do. But our title is, and so there's no releasing of us.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
a Larned
I'm sorry.
issue. No, you're fine.
But you're right, that was.
That was a Larned
That's not
issue
an issue.
that they had when we were working with their program.
Yeah, right now there's not a satellite program at Larned.
Right.
The only program is at Osawatomie.
But when we did, and there is an LMHT program, Cambridge Children's was approved and they're in their first year. That's right. They're in the hits because they're in their first year. But we did get some feedback from them too, because they are in a position or in a place where they could be working with local college and those that are already approved to do other programs. They would have some potential for partnership there as well. So.
And on the wage thing, I guess I should say, that wage is set, but there are several 24-hour things that the state hospitals, all of them are getting extra bonuses that
May or may not stay.
that may or may not stay, that I didn't add into that because, you know, it is like another $4.50 an hour currently, but that's approved by the legislature year by year. So.
And that was part of the discussion, if you all remember, I don't know if maybe we didn't, but, the pay for the LMHTs changed, but for some reason didn't include, or for MHTs.
Right.
But didn't for the LMHTs. So they were going through all this work to be licensed and continue, and they did not get a raise like the other ones did. So we feel like that maybe have potentially been one of the reasons why some just chose not to even renew the license. It's like, why would I do that if there's no benefit in pay for me or moving on? So there were just a lot of them that didn't renew. So that's something, again, we were talking about, that might be more of a legislature. Have to go back to them in terms of, why promote the MHT, but not the LMHT when they're going to all this work to, get to that higher level of functioning.
I do have another question. Going forward, what would be the best option for Osawatomie? We recognize this is a key hospital for mental health services in the state. And it sounds like staffing is not optimal. Do we need to have additional information from Osawatomie regarding looking at a pro forma of what might be their best option? Is that in order to talk about?
What do you guys think? I'm kind of asking, because we have two in attendance here from Osawatomie's program. So I'm kind of looking to them, not to put them on the spot, but.
We did include them in the feedback as well. So they're part of this conversation in terms of what that might mean for them moving forward.
And it sounds like they maybe are in some discussions about.
I think that it's important to have the program. I think there's definite need to provide more education for our techs out there. And when we went to the 2-level program, what we are planning is that first level, where they would remain at the mental health tech. But that would be the first part, then they would go on to the next level with nature of the licensure.
And our hope is that every state employee that is a tech would go through the level 1.
Right.
So that level 1 would be established, everybody would go through that. And we would probably have, 2 to 3 of the MHT level, and then pull for the next level out of.
Every eligible for the application.
So question, do you still only admit your own employees with the intent to keep them at Osawatomie?
Yes.
Is that correct? So it's helping Osawatomie, but it's maybe not helping other parts of the state. So I think that's the belief that maybe there needs to be a way that we can produce more, not to take away from Osawatomie, but to supplement.
Part of that is that as a state entity, bringing students in from outside, then there's got to be all the legal, then it becomes all the legal things, like what do we charge?
Right.
What do we bring them in? We're bringing them into our hospital. There's the legal of, what level do we teach them? Our crisis, and different things that are required.
Well, and that's where maybe working with an outside entity, for those students who would be coming in from the outside, then you would have someone else who's like basically in charge of the clinical, and you become the clinical site rather than the over. Does that if that makes sense? Not necessarily replacing your program, but at some point giving you an option to have more students there, at least from a clinical perspective, with the possibility of hiring them at some point, even if they don't start there. But I know for your program, you submitted the change to making it clear that right now that it is only for your employees. And that was a clarification that needed to get made because it was
Right.
kind of had been.
Because I think the opening was there, but there was never any support from above us that allowed for that. There was no back, like, okay, if we did do this, then it would cost this much and it would.
Understood.
I have one more question. What's the closest community college to Osawatomie?
Fort Scott,
Neosho County.
Neosho County,
Neosho,
Fort Scott,
Neosho, the closest.
Johnson County is not that far. We're kind of centrally between.
kind of right around. So yeah, they're about the same. Did you hear that, Ruth? Johnson County, Neosho, and Fort Scott are all kind of right around them.
They're each
About
about an
8
hour. Are they each about an hour away then, or not quite?
Johnson County is probably 30 minutes away. If Fort
Okay.
Scott has a Paola campus that's 15, 20 minutes.
There's a Paola Community College,
Fort Scott has a satellite campus at
Right.
Paola.
and they would have that possibility. Okay. All right. Any further discussion on this before we move on? Thank you, everybody.
Is there anything more you want from us in terms of the feedback and or additional information?
Yeah, I think at some point we're gonna need some direction about what you want done. If you want the regulations to stay the way they are right now, then nothing will change. But these revisions would have to move through the process if that's what you wanted. If you want them changed some based on some of this feedback, again, there would be more work done on them. So, I mean, I'm not saying it has to happen today, but at some point, Janelle and I are gonna need a little feedback about how you want this to progress. If you want to think about it until March or whatever.
It's a lot to put in there, I know, but if you have time to look at that, because I think that was the biggest thing. We have the draft revisions now. We think look pretty good, but I think the question came about the number of hours, and then that's where that conversation. So did the regulations support where you want to go with the LMHT program?
So if Chamber has the same program, were they also asked about this?
Yes.
Okay. So that opens it up to other schools where there's a Chamber around as well. If they wanted to get college credit. Right. And then it would be a choice of the student, whether they wanted to just go the hour route while they're working, or whether they wanted to get college credit because they want to go forward.
And I can't remember right now, because I think Chamber is kind of doing the same thing in terms of their first class, I think is primarily their employees. But I think they did also have a path to, we had them clarify that, a path to have somebody be part of that program who is not currently their employee.
So I think I would ask this out of you guys. Are you getting enough students within your system and that are employees to fulfill your need?
I think there's enough employees out there, but unfortunately, many of them are agency.
We're over 50% agency currently in our staffing. And I know Barnard is at a greater percent.
So if it did happen that we took this into where we were offering college credit at it at certain institutions, are those people hireable by you?
Yeah.
Based on, you would know what the regulations are. So would that actually help with your staffing? maybe.
No.
Come on, Crystal
Well,
ball.
the
I
agency
mean,
staff are.
We also know that not everybody is cut out for psych.
Right.
I mean, so
Right.
our concern is that, you know, do you just pull people in and put them in an LMHT program? And then, you know, put them into a psych situation and expect that they all would.
Nobody's cut out, not everybody's cut out for nursing either. So we have the same
Right.
situation with
Right.
nursing.
Yeah. Right, I mean, we do get some in, you know, nurses included that come in and they really want to try it and. Yeah, it's just not.
So are most of your agency, are they LMHTs or MHTs or because there's not very many states that. RNs and LPNs, but we do have techs that are agency.
There's CNAs that come in and become techs.
They go through our orientation.
Okay. We have agency housekeeping, we have agency, therapy services, social workers, everyth's gone.
They have all hospitals anymore.
If you look at our social services, our social workers have just signed a contract for an agency.
Okay, thank you. For me, I would like time for additional study of this. Whatever we do, I would hope it would not put more of a hardship on Osawatomie. That is very concerning, and I hear what you're saying. It being a state agency, you have some limitations with who you can bring in for your training. So with everyone's permission, I would like to ask for some additional time to study that, and then we could bring that back to the March 2024 meeting. Thank you, everyone. This is great discussion. All right.
Madam Chair, this is Carol. Is there any additional information you need from Janelle or I about this before that would be in your March packet? Or do you feel like you have the information and you just want to further think or?
You might have questions as we review it a little harder. If that makes sense.
Can we just email you guys if we find we're getting into it and we're missing something that would answer a question?
Okay.
I'll go ahead and just put it on the agenda for March.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's our next item of business is our agenda for March 2024. Are there additional items besides the LMHT education?
We'll bring the APRN revisions back once we have the input. Hopefully we'll have the input from the APRN committee from this time. So we'll bring that back, and the LMHT we'll bring back after you've had some time to look at it. Again, if you need additional information, to let me know. We will also have the NCLEX reports, the calendar year NCLEX reports in March for all the programs. Oh, yes, thank you. Scholarship.
Scholarship?
Yeah, the scholarship applications are all in and done and being looked at by board members. So we will have our winners, and that will be announced at the March meeting, and they will hopefully be present at the March meeting to get that recognition. And I'm sorry, Michelle, you said something else?
Well, the consent item agenda stuff, the site visit schedule and we did. They were further up on the agenda.
Right. Do we need them? Oh, we'll have them again.
Yeah, that'll be.
We'll bring back the 5 that you reviewed today with them all done for you, so you can decide if that's the final. So
Right.
yes, those will be part of that.
It sounds like our agenda then has been set. Any further discussion? No? Are we ready for an adjournment? Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience with me. All righty, thank you. So this concludes the December 12th KSBN Education Committee meeting. It is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Yeah, thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, everybody.